I went to Trinity College, Kandy, where I barely passed my O levels, but significantly I played rugby for the school. I played when I was 15, and I captained the year when I was 17. Uh, One thing of significance with, as far as rugby is concerned, was that though I was under 15, I went for first 15 practice, and the captain at that time was Denzil Kubbekadua, and I got into the team. The first match, just before we started playing the first match, a senior master at Trinity College came and told Denzil, why is Java playing in the first 15? He's 15 years old and he should be in the under 17. So Denzil said that he came for practice and he found a place in the side, so we will play. We also have a tradition where if you play for Trinity, it is only then that you are entitled to wear the Trinity College jersey. Now I would have got the jersey if I played that first match. This master again, I don't know, it was not persecution, but it was something close to it. They said, play in some other jersey, don't play in the Trinity jersey, which would have then disqualified me from having a Trinity jersey at that time. Again, Denzil said, no sir, this is a traditional match which we play in the Trinity College jerseys, and therefore we must continue that tradition and continue to play in those jerseys. The master said, all right, and went off. But the major point is that Denzil stood up for me, and he demonstrated the leadership and support that he gave his men in later life as well. That was very significant. Then I left Trinity and started looking for a job, and I had my heart set on planting, and I went to a couple of agency houses. One place I went to was Vitol's, where the assistant manager, Rodney Deseram, said, you are 15 years old, 17 years old, why don't you go back to Trinity and become senior prefect and come? Now I hadn't hope in hell of becoming the senior prefect of Trinity, because I was not even a monitor. I was the first Trinity College rugby captain who was not a monitor. So that was a bad dream. Anyway, I kept on pursuing this. And later my father spoke to a university mate of his, Sam Kadirigama, and Sam spoke to the chairman of Vitol, who was also another university mate, Mr. Kumarasamy. I was called for an interview. Another interesting point is that my father was at Royal. He was senior prefect at Royal in 1935, and he had a friend called Victor Gunawardena who was a planter. Now Victor got fired for some fraudulent activity by Vitols. Now some kind person had informed Vitols that when I was going for the interview that my father was a friend of his. It had nothing to do with me, but still that's the way things happen in this country. Anyway, at the interview, Mr. Kumarasamy, the chairman, asked me, who is your father? No, he asked me, do you know Victor Gunawardena? I said, yes. He's a friend of my father's. Who is your father? I said, E.D.W. Jayawardena. I know him, he was in university with me, and I got the job, in spite of Victor and in spite of not being a prefect. So that was the beginning of the start of my planting career. I was posted to learn work, creeping as they call it, under Ranjan Veeratna on New Pickup Group, Pusalla. That put the fear of God into me, because I was 17 years old and Ranjan had a reputation of being very strict and very hard taskmaster. Anyway, I stayed in the bungalow with him and found that he was a very nice man, had a very nice personality. He had a rough exterior, but still he was an excellent person who taught me very much, and I learned most of my planting from Ranjan. But the only downside of that was that he used to question me at lunch and dinner time, which stifled my eating. I had to answer questions which he was firing. Then to add to that, his wife Dilan, who was a very sweet person, used to ask me news from Colombo, gossip, etc. So now on two sides there are two people questioning me, and the food is in the middle, and I really, enjoyed it in that way. But I worked very hard as a SD, all on foot. And then after 6 months, I was posted to an estate called High Forest in Kandapula. High Forest has the reputation of being one of the best estates in that district, in the Northern district. The superintendent was Alan Cameron, and the first day I met him in the office, he detailed out work that I should do. Go for muster, go to the field in the morning, go to the plucking field in the evening, go to the factory in the evening and look at manufacture, etc. Gave me all that. And then he said, I don't care what you do after working hours, but on Thursday you must come to the club. Now the club is a place where we got the sub-district club where the estates round about, superintendents, assistants come and meet every Thursday, and it was a thing that everybody had to come for the club. They had a tea day, they played tennis, they played darts in the evening and all that. Now, talking of the hours of work, this is not my experience, but another friend of mine went to again a very tough superintendent, European, and he detailed out, as my boss Alan Cameron did, all the work that he had to do. Then my friend had asked very timidly, sir, what are my working hours? That superintendent said, 24. What you do after that, I don't care. So, and another significant thing is when I first went to the Ragala, Udupusula and Mathura districts, all the superintendents were Europeans. There was only one person, Maitri Dunardan, who was a superintendent, but he had a European manager above him. But little by little things changed and the Sri Lankans filtered in. But at that point of time, it was very significant. I was also made the secretary of the Newry District Planters Association. I was on High Forest for about 6 years. Alan Cameron went off back to Scotland and he retired and went back to Scotland. He was succeeded by Vernon Ratwatta, who was also a good planter. Vernon also was very highly social, his wife was a high socialite. We had visits from people like Sir John Kotalawala, the Prime Minister. We had Sir Oliver Gunathilaka, the Governor General, coming there. Sir John used to always want to play tennis. So the other ST and I partnered each other, and our superintendent, who also, Vernon Ratwatta, also played tennis with Sir John. The first set we ever played, we beat them, 6-love. Then I told my colleague, Majan, this is a bad joke. If we beat these fellows, we'll all be in trouble. So the next 2 tests we lost. And then Sir John laughing and saying, you young buggers can't play tennis, I will teach you. And the result was that we had dinner at the big bungalow, we were allowed to swim in the big bungalow pool. So we had a lot of advantages by losing. Vernon Ratwatta was a good planter, but he had a habit of not telling us when he was leaving the estate. And as a result, we had to cultivate the driver and ask him, Ramasamy, Mata Kohede Yanni. So he says, now tomorrow you are going to Drayton, from Drayton he is going to Australia, visit the estate. Then it's the lady's mother's birthday, so he is going to Colombo. He'll come back on Sunday. So we have a whole routine where it was useful for us to scoot out of the estate without leave. And those days there are no telephones, handphones, nothing. So once you enter the estate, nobody knew. So that was Vernon Ratwatta's strategy. He also used to visit estates as a visiting agent. When he comes back from an estate, he tells us about what they are doing on the other estate. One day he told me, I said, Jayantha, do you go for muster? So I said, no, sir, I go, but not regularly. No, you must go for muster every day. Maurice Herman's assistant superintendent on Murray Estate, they go every day, so you also must go. Now that is the way he looked at it. Another time he came back and asked me whether I go for manufacture in the night, in the middle of the night, 2 o'clock, who wants to go? He says, do you go for a night manufacture? So I said, no, sir, once in a while. No. Charles Edwards, SDs on Canaveral, they go every day, you also must go. So his standards were set by some other superintendent. But he was a very nice man. His wife was very nice. And we married when they were there. And they were very friendly with us, looked after my wife and myself very nicely. When I first went to High Forest, Margot Cameron, the superintendent, Alan Cameron's wife, phoned me and said, could you kindly send me some sweepings? So I said, yes, Mrs. Cameron, I'll send sweepings. I didn't know what the hell sweepings were. So I phoned my senior SD, Uber De Silva, and I said, Uber, Mrs. Cameron wants sweepings. What are sweepings? He said, sweepings are actually what we sweep off the miniature floor. But there is no menu in the miniature floor that can be swept and taken to Mrs. Cameron's rose garden. So what we generally do is we puncture a bag of manure, mix it up with some sand, and we send it to the bungalow, and she is very happy because the roses do very well under those circumstances. On High Forest, we had a central telephone exchange which telephone lines to the superintendent's bungalow, assistant's bungalow, the factory office and other important places. But sometimes one of the two or both of the two telephone operators would not be available, and we had a Kangani called Kitnasamy who was taught to operate the telephone. He knew no English, he only spoke Tamil, and when any of the superintendents, any of the assistant superintendents or superintendent called and he realized who they were, he used to shuffle and remove his slippers and then put his hand here and say Salangadore. I mean, we didn't see it, but that's what he did, and it was very amusing when somebody found him doing this. He used to remove his slippers and salute and say Salangadore into the telephone. From High Forest, I went to Agrakanda estate in Lindulla. I was the ST in charge of that, but my superintendent was on another estate called Talankanda. He was Cecil's Carnival. He too was a good superintendent, and I got on very well with him. From Agrakanda in 1970, I played rugby again. For 10 years I couldn't play rugby because I got injured soon after I left school playing against Tour, and my cartilages were torn, and for 10 years I was out of rugby. When I went to Agrakanda, I started playing for Dimbulla, and finally in 1974 I captained the Dimbulla side. Subsequently I captained the upcountry side when I was playing for Ur. From Agrakanda I went to an estate called Dimeria in 1974, which is in Passara. And the Passara, now the social life of the planters in the Passara and Dimbulla districts differ quite a lot. Passara and Ur are far away from Colombo, and it is closer to the east coast. So a whole lot of planters every weekend used to go down to Pasikuda, Kalkuda, Arugambe, etc. Some planters had bungalows in those places, which they used and which they also gave out to planters and others who wanted to do. JKC Kumar Gunasekara, who was my senior ST later at High Forest, Noel Fernando, who was superintendent Oliphant, Bhatia Jayawardena, Vernon Tissera, they all had bungalows there and which were freely. There were some other PA planters also, like Smithy Van Coilenberg, who had a place called Dagenham on the beach, and Durban Doivnos had a bungalow. When I went to Ur and to Dimeria, there was the Passara Gun Club, which is quite close to my bungalow, but it was in the process of closing down because the government had acquired the club to serve as the divisional secretary's office. The club shifted to a building in the Uri factory, but it never really got off the ground. It was a whole different atmosphere and factory, and so that didn't get off the ground. Another example is the Ur club, which was flourishing: tennis, badminton, cricket, rugby, billiards, everything. That too was taken over by the government to house the municipal council. So the club shifted to Rukatan estate in Halile, but there again, like the Passara Gun Club at Uri estate, it did not really take off as it should. It didn't take off from where we left off. It spluttered, and I think now it's dead. Well, the funniest story is that Ken was 4 years older than I, but we were classmates because he went and he didn't move forward. I caught up with him, and both of us in 1961 did engineering, and both of us didn't really become engineers, but we became fairly successful planters. Ken was always a very outgoing chap, the life and soul of a party, played good golf, played good rugby, and there was a demand for Ken. When the party was Uncle Ken coming, that sort of person. Even though his son asks now. We were in Colombo, and Cedric Monuvira, Ken and I had to go up to Dikkoya to play for Dimbulla, but we were in Colombo. So Friday night we left. It was raining like it is now, raining very hard. And somewhere between Dehiovita and Bulat, and between Avisavela and Dehiovita, we saw in the distance people standing and waving lanterns and torches. So I said, stop. Ken said, no, you bugger, those buggers are going to waylay us, and it's like, go. And got quite fast. Next thing we knew, we were knee deep in water. So those who were trying to warn us that this causeway was flooded. But Murray, in his anxiety to escape this, the robbers, as he thought they were, put us in water all our boots, clothes, everything. And the water flowing over the jeep at that stage. I am a teetotaler. I have never drunk in my life, except for a sip here and sip there just to see the taste. Now, whatever it is, when you go to the club, part of the fun is having a drink and enjoying yourself. Even though I didn't drink, the social life of a club attracted me, and I was a regular member of most of the planting clubs were in our district, and I enjoyed going there. One of the downsides of this social life of the club is that when everybody drinks, their level of thinking, their level of articulation, and the volume of their voice all change. And sometimes for the better, sometimes people go to sleep, sometimes people get very active, sometimes people get very argumentative, sometimes people get a little violent. Now, argumentative is a problem as far as I am concerned, because you know somebody is talking nonsense because he is after liquor. And you can't tell him that, because then he gets worse. So arguments I used to avoid by listening, and then they say, why aren't you saying anything? So, I had to go along with that, but still it was fun. Then there's the situation where some planters get drunk and they can't drive and they have to be taken home. Now I had a senior ST who was also a person who drank a lot, and Ralph Bowling. And Ralph every time was not in any condition after a club night to go home. Now I put him in my car and I take him home. Tara opens the door and she's now ready to give Ralph help. But Ralph in the meantime has fallen asleep. So we had to drag him to bed and put him in bed. Tara, all that pent up anger lashes out at me, as if it was my fault that this fellow has got drunk and gone to sleep. But Tara was a nice person, and I think she was so determined to tell Ralph off, and there was no Ralph to listen to her. So Jayantha was the victim of her wrath. But it was all in good fun, there was no malice, and it was. And I did it again and again, so I must have thought it my duty at least, if not my fun, to take Ralph home.